What is up, Waffle Gang? My name is Mark, and today we're covering some more r/am I the butthole. If you'd like to skip the initial waffle, timestamps are in the description and along the timeline below, but if you are new here, please consider hitting that like, that subscribe, and maybe that notification bell too. Yesterday on YouTube, we had a new member, Mind of the Butterfly, what a great name, and over on Patreon, we had Zero Zeiss Rajan. I hope I got your name right, I'm really sorry if I didn't. And a special mention to Haley H, who has been a member since November 4th, and I forgot to mention her name and add her to our list, so I'm so sorry, but thank you each of you for supporting the channel. It really does mean the world to me, and for everyone to come here and take the times out of your days to be here, you know, and just help out with the channel, get involved, talk to me. I absolutely love it, so thank you so much. And with that being said, let's just get on with today's stories. Much love, guys. And our first story comes from Helpless. Am I the arsehole for giving the entire inheritance to my twin brother? Am I the arsehole for leaving my inheritance to only one sibling? So I, 30 female, made money young. I dropped out of college to model, then started my own business and made some smart decisions with stocks. So I have quite a bit of money saved, my own property owned, free and clear, just pay utilities, and a couple of cars. I am single and childless. Growing up, I was very close with my twin, 30 male, but not so much with my other siblings, also twins, 28 female. Basically, they were favoured quite a bit by my parents. I took care of myself, starting in high school, and so did my twin. He paid his own way through college with no parental help, while I built my business also on my own. Our younger siblings did not. Our parents bought them cars in high school, paid 100% of their tuition and living expenses in college, and supported them in starting their adult lives. Both my sisters ended up in bad relationships where they had kids and the fathers eventually had nothing to do with. My parents have always given them plenty of money and support. I just got diagnosed with a terminal brain tumour. It's inoperable and I'm going to die within 6 months. I have made my peace with it. I have opted to leave everything to my brother in my will. That was so he can pay off student loans and have a vehicle and home free and clear. I want to know he has a good life while I'm gone. My parents and sisters found out that I'm leaving everything to him and flipped out. They accused me of favouritism and being a bad daughter, aunt and sister. They said my parents deserve money for raising me and that my nieces and nephews deserve my money for future expenses, since their mothers couldn't afford anything like cars and college. Even my grandma and my uncle's wife, who I barely see, messaged me on Facebook to tell me how selfish I'm being. I blocked all of them in Facebook and told my brother I only wanted him to be at my bedside when I died. Am I the arsehole for giving my inheritance solely to my brother and cutting my family off? I'm not sure what I was expecting through this post, but when it got to the terminal brain tumour, I was like, oh, for fuck's sake, man. How heartbreaking is that? And then for your parents, the narcissism, for them to be worried about money and the sisters to be worried about money when you're dying. How heartless is that? No compassion whatsoever. I never understand how people can be like that and just go through their lives not feeling guilty for being such shitty people. But on to the question, no, you are not the arsehole. It is your money to do what you want with it. And from the way you explain that story, you know, it sounds like you're both best off out of that family's lives. They don't treat you like family. They don't deserve to be a part of your family. So, you know, do what you want with that money, but make sure you get it locked down with solicitors or lawyers, whatever you need to do to make sure it goes to proper people and it can't be contested. Let's have a look at some of the comments below to see what they say. Have Plushy Will Talk says, not the arsehole, but maybe see a solicitor to make sure your will is incontestable. You don't want your poor brother trying to mourn you while a bunch of vultures steal everything not nailed down or specified in the will. I'm sorry for your situation, and I hope that you have only the people who love you around for your remaining time. Apprehensive Mess says, not the arsehole, it's your money, your choice. Your brother may decide to help out your nieces, but that's his choice and not theirs. I would talk with your brother though, because I'd be worried your family will try and gaslight him into giving them a portion of the inheritance. I hope for your sake this can be sorted out so you can get some peace. Edit, I'd leave them each $1 so they can't contest the will. And the Saint of the Right says, not the arsehole, it's your money. I'd go over it with an inheritance lawyer to close any loopholes that the family could take. Make sure you tell him not to let the family members cope or scam him into giving them money. Example, pretending to love him / be friends after his death because he got money. And Angelic A says, not the arsehole, you built everything from the ground up and it sounds like you have a much closer relationship with your brother. I'd advise that you leave the rest of your family a small amount, because if they're left out entirely, they could have the option of claiming you forgot to include them and go to court for it. But you should speak with a lawyer or legal advisor about this, because I'm neither of those things. And Vast Lecture says, not the arsehole. I'm sorry, but the lack of compassion and just the amount of narcissism from your parents is ridiculous. You raised yourself, they did not raise you, they did not be good parents. Your siblings need to figure out their lives themselves. They made their decisions, so live with them. Now, what do you guys think of this situation? How do you think OP should handle it? Do you guys know any of the legal loopholes that they may have to close? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to vote on that poll in the description for story 1. And our next story is from a throwaway account. Am I the arsehole for telling my husband he can't come to my doctor's appointments anymore until he goes to therapy? I am 29 weeks pregnant with a baby boy. My husband and I were so excited when we found out, because a few years ago we suffered an unfortunate loss of our baby at 24-week gestation. Our baby just wasn't developing correctly and there was nothing we could do. It was just one of those sad things. I went to therapy for it and came to terms with it, but my husband never did. As much as I asked and begged, he didn't. Now every time we go to a doctor's appointment, he essentially has a panic attack going, during, and coming back talking about how we're going to lose this baby too. It's been happening since we found out, so that's 29 weeks of this. I go to a doctor's appointment fairly frequently due to some minor issues that have caused me to be considered high risk. After my last appointment while coming home, my husband told me that we should start considering the worst and looking into urns and cremation in case we lose this one too. This is where I told him he needed to go to therapy and I wouldn't be having him come with me because he stresses me out and that's not good for our healthy baby and for my blood pressure, which is what is making me high risk until he does get therapy. He told me I'm being unreasonable and he's being realistic and that I can't stop him from going with me because it's his baby too. This was last week and he has been cold and still hasn't made a therapy appointment and honestly has been kind of hostile towards me. I know he's just scared we're going to lose our baby, but having him with me is maybe the cause of what could make us lose our baby because he makes me so stressed. Am I the arsehole? Edit, I don't live in America. The apparent national mandate of your spouse not being allowed to be with you in hospital, as far as I know, is an American thing, not where I am. You know, you got to feel sorry for the husband and for yourself, OP, as well, because of what you've been through. But you've been to therapy to try and get it sorted out. But talking about looking at urns and things like that when you have a healthy baby at the moment is just crazy. That is not healthy behavior. And he does need to seek some sort of therapy for it, because if he doesn't, you know, it's just going to stress you out further. Like you said through this whole post, it's not good for the baby either. But coming to the end of the post where it says like it's an American thing that you can only attend the appointments yourself, surely that's in all places. If you request the hospital or the doctors or whatever and you say, look, I want to be solo in this appointment, can you ensure that happens? Surely they have to say yes. I can't imagine any place that would just let some random come in, even if it is your husband, just be in there. As I say, I might be totally wrong. I'm just taking guesses because that seems insane to me. But who knows? Who knows? I'm sure someone's going to say, nope, you're totally wrong there, Mark. And I will accept it, of course. But let's take a look at the comments below to see what they say. Sadder, older, wiser says, not the arsehole at all. Your medical appointments are not something he has a right to attend, and especially not if his lack of chill is putting your pregnancy in danger. Webby Vanderquack says, not the arsehole. He wants you to start looking into urns and cremation. That's not helpful and not healthy. I think you have a really valid, pragmatic reason for not wanting to accompany you until he's at least demonstrated a willingness to resolve these issues. Maleficent Ad says, not the arsehole. Go to your appointments by yourself. He needs to stop doing this and should be told that he's not helping. Is there any relative/friend that has gone through something like this that can back you up and get him to get help? If he keeps this up, you might have to move out temporarily with a family that can give you more help and less stress. And Green Blue Seaside says, not the arsehole. Also, even though he is the father, he doesn't have the right to go to your medical appointments. His comment about you not being able to stop him makes him a major arsehole. Now, what do you guys think of this story? How do you think OP should handle it? And let's just say the scenario is, you know, this person is entitled to go into the appointment with her. Then what should she do? Let us know in the comments below and don't forget to vote on that poll in the description for story 2. And our next story is from Mr. Zero. Am I the arsehole for proving to my family my mother is misogynistic? I forget where I read it, but someone said we most likely learned internalized misogyny from our mothers instead of our fathers. I'm an 18 male and been dealing with my hyper-religious parents. My mother has always preached that a man and a woman have their set of roles in the house. Basically, the man works and the woman does housework. So growing up, I never liked this mindset. My mother would literally shove me out the house to work with my dad and have my sisters help her cook and clean. But to the main story, my mother's been really sick lately, not corona, and she's been unable to cook or do anything. My dad has been used to just having her cook, so we've been surviving on a diet of takeout. If I have to eat another Wendy's 4 for 4, I'll lose it. So I decided to use some money I had set aside to go to the store and cook a homemade meal. I watch a lot of people cooking it. It wasn't the first time I've cooked, but it was the first time I've cooked for my parents. My dad will eat anything, so I didn't expect a record on how good it was from him. But I gave some to my mum and she made comments like, I'm a boy and can't do the job right or whatever. And even after she ate it, multiple servings, she still told the family on our weekly FaceTime calls how bad it was and I should stick to working outside. I knew she was going to, but I felt shitty for having her laugh at my genuine effort. So I stopped doing everything I would do in the house, all the womanly tasks such as cleaning, washing the dishes and such. Since she was stuck in her bed, she didn't see how the house got. When she finally got better to walk around and see how dirty it was, she began to yell at me for not cleaning, and I reminded her that those were, by her standards, a woman's job. She flipped and began to rage on our weekly FaceTime calls, so when my family asked me why I didn't help, I explained to her that she said those were women's jobs and I should be outside working, which I was. I built a fold-out table, only out of wood. Now my family is laughing at her and she is pissed. Some of my sisters said they know what she said, but she was sick and bedridden, so I should have been the bigger man and done it anyway. But I think I was just listening to what she said. So am I, the arsehole. Now, this turned into a bit of a malicious compliance post, and I approve of it. Good on OP for calling out a misogynistic person. I think she got totally what she deserved in this situation. I ain't got too much more to say on that. But Bobsy says, not the arsehole, it's her own fault, and honestly, that's hilarious. Agreeable Asparagus says, not the arsehole, damned if you do, damned if you don't. How did the table turn out? OP replies, it's kind of wobbly, but it works. Pistol Rose says, not the arsehole, your mum sounds misogynistic. She also sounds like she got a whole lot of emotionally vested in a proscribed role and your cooking ability was threatening that. Sounds like you aren't buying in, so good for you. Eat the Bunny 2 says, r/malicious compliance. Beautifully done. Albino Metroid says, not the arsehole, but just so you know, internalized misogyny is specifically referring to being a woman and being misogynistic, like it's turned inwards towards yourself. If you're a male and identify as such, you wouldn't be experiencing internalized misogyny, just misogyny. And OP apologised, they didn't understand the meaning. And Winter Lily 86 says, not the arsehole, it sounds like she could do with a wake-up call. Good on you for doing it, and keep trying with the cooking. It'll be a good skill to have whenever you leave home. You can't survive on takeout all your life, not healthily anyway. Now, what do you guys think of this story? I like it when it's a little bit of malicious compliance or petty revenge in there. That's all. I'm all over that sort of thing. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and don't forget to vote on that poll in the description for story 3. And our next story is from Mirrors. Am I the arsehole for calling my wife abusive after she fed our sons a spicy dish? I don't know how to work this app, so I apologise if I make any mistakes. English is also not my first language. I, male 38, have been married to my wife, female 39, for 15 years. We have a daughter, female 12, and twin sons, male 7. I am a European white man, while my wife is of a South Asian descendant. My wife usually cooks our meals, and because of our culture, she usually cooks spicy dishes for herself and my daughter, while makes me plain dishes as I can't handle it. My wife tries to cook her traditional meals for our sons like she does for our daughter. The boys can't handle spice as well as them, so they tend not to eat them, which leads to her usually making 3 different types of meals. Even though boys can't eat the dishes that my wife makes, they still get upset when their mum and sister eats a different, more nicer looking dish. Last night my wife was having a bad day. She's a surgeon, and our sons wanted to try the dish she was making. Whenever they ask to try her dishes, she gets really excited that the kids want to eat food from her culture. They convinced her and she only made that dish for all of us. The dish was really spicy, had onions in it and a bunch of other spices. The onions were really strong and spicy. I literally couldn't look at the dish without my eyes watering and had to go outside for fresh air. The same thing happens to the twins too, but my wife and daughter were used to it as it's their favourite dish. As we couldn't finish the dish and we weren't full, the twins asked if she could make something else. My wife snapped. She yelled at us. She said no, and that they asked for it, that she was tired of having to make different foods for the family. She left the room and the kids ate a bit of food while crying, except my daughter. I later confronted her when everyone else was asleep. I told her that it was messed up that she made the kids eat something they can't handle and essentially called her abusive. She then started crying, saying she was done with me, that maybe our sons could handle her food and culture if it wasn't for me being gatekeeping them and babying them. Her blaming me made me pretty angry, I can't lie, and the argument went on further. It ended up with her walking away and muttering something about how her family was right about marrying into a white family, which really hurt me. Before our wedding, I walked in and her and my in-laws talking about things like he might not understand our culture, and that his family might be judgmental and not like it, or that if she moved to my country, the country we live in currently, that they might not accept our beliefs and traditions. Now I'm kind of doubting myself, but my family says I'm in the right and that she's dramatic. Am I the arsehole? Should I go and apologise? Edit, I do cook occasionally and order food for the kids, only when she's away. For anyone wondering, the dish was Kiribati and Luna Mirius. I don't know if I got those ones right, and I apologise if I got them wrong. Edit, I apologised before she went to work this morning. She didn't reply and just left. Edit, Lunu Mirius is hot when you add spices to it, and my wife does. She crushed up red onions and shallots, marinated them in lots of other spices, and lime juice. Cool, I'm hungry now. Now, what I don't get in this story is that we heard like the wife is a surgeon, which obviously is a very high paid, high role job. And I imagine pretty stressful. So at the moment when I was reading that story, the scenario I had in my head is that she's coming home from work and having to cook multiple meals for these people who just sat there waiting for it. And I'm just thinking, why isn't the husband doing more? Why isn't the husband cooking a separate dish for these kids if they can't handle the spicy ones? I don't think we got enough info from what the husband's doing. Maybe he was doing a lot more and we don't know about it. But from this story, from OP, who is the husband, it doesn't sound like he's doing very much. So I'm going to have to say he is the arsehole, because he could cook them a separate meal for him and the boys if they don't want to eat that, right? But he just seems to be sat there and then complaining that she's not cooking a separate meal for him and forcing to eat spicy food with onions, apparently. It's like, dude, no, you weren't forced to eat those. You could have got off your ass and cooked something else, but you didn't. So yeah, I gotta say, you are the arsehole in this situation, but who knows? It might change with the comments below. Mecca Melon says, info, why is your surgeon wife responsible for all the cooking in the first place? And why aren't you making you and your sons your own dinner if you can't eat what your wife is generously cooking? With her extremely limited amount of time. Judgment is you're the arsehole, of course. Plastic Hottle says, you're the arsehole. You really let your wife make multiple meals to appease the whole family. Why didn't you cook then? And the kids said they wanted to try it. It's not her fault they then changed their mind. If it's that hard for you and your sons, you should cook then. Edit, you owe your wife the biggest of apologies. A sincere apology. I can't believe you called her abusive. Strange Dimension 2 says, I can honestly say from the bottom of my heart that this is one of the clearest you're the arsehole I've seen on this site. Your wife is a surgeon, which is an extremely hard profession, and she cooks 3 different meals each day. You shouldn't yell at her, you should get on your knees and thank her every goddamn day for what she's doing for you and your kids. How about you pick up some of the slack and do the cooking? I mean, obviously her reaction wasn't perfect, but she's obviously under a lot of stress and was bound to snap one day. You should definitely apologise to your wife. Snoodoodle says, you think onions are spicy? Cyber Ace Keener says, you're the arsehole. Cook the meals then if you can't handle the spice. And seriously, onions are too spicy. Let me guess, you just put salt in the chicken with no pepper or anything else, don't you? Onions are not a spice for one thing. For another, your wife is a surgeon and you expect her to do all the cooking. Get your lazy butt up and cook for your kids. It ain't that hard, especially since you seem not to season anything. Slap a chicken breast in a pan, cook the bland pasta, bam, dinner's done. Onions aren't a spice. I swear, if you're not a troll, then go and take some cooking classes, please. And finally, E. Aligia says, info, so your wife is a surgeon. That's a high stress, high salary job. What do you do? What's your excuse for not being able to make separate dinners for yourself and your sons all the time? I'm just curious about that. Either way, you're the arsehole. It sucks that your wife has been making 3 separate meals for her family, especially since she's also surgeon for her day job. She's right in this case. Your sons asked her to make this food, so she did. When you and your sons couldn't handle it, you, the other adult in the situation, should have made them something else, unless she force-fed them the spicy food. It's totally shitty to call her abusive and act like your sons had no choice but to eat her food. Now, what do you guys think of this story? How do you think that OP can handle it now? Do you think OP should have just got off their butt and cooked the meals, or do you think he was right to contest the wife? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to vote on that poll in the description for story 4. Once again guys, thank you for being here today. I hope you have enjoyed today's stories, and if you have, you know what to do. Hit that like, that subscribe, and maybe that notification bell too. As always, I truly appreciate, and I honestly mean this, I truly appreciate you taking the time out of your day to sit there or do whatever you're doing, and I love hearing what you're doing too. So how about in this video, you let me know what you're doing while you're listening to this one, because I love to hear it. Take care guys, much love, and have a great day now. Bye bye.